First thing I want to say about this man was when I was brushing up on his bio, I misread his birth county as men. I guess he's the OG Walter White.
Sir John, we need to build pipes. Pipes, Sir John.
I don't know, Mr. Connor. What about those cracks?
CYO Connor was an engineer from the early days of Western Australian history. Starting off as a strapping young Irish lad helping with the construction of railways, he then moved on to the North Island of New Zealand to survey some fresh Canterbury. I think that's a hate crime against the Maori. Over the course of the years, he ended up with many appointments and responsibilities over the engineering and surveying of railways and harbours. After the Kiwis' reorganisation led him to the not very sexy marine engineer role rather than departmental head, he looked for opportunities elsewhere. I reckon the telegram between him and
WA's first premier
John Forrest went a little bit like this. What is my job? Stop. Railways, stop. Harbours, stop. Or roads, stop. Yes, stop. O'Connor's first mission, if he chose to accept it, was a demand by Forrest to build Fremantle Harbour. That's right, he invented Fanboy Town's most iconic port. The initial plans, elaborated by West Australian Anakin Skywalker, was for an outer harbour due to a believed menace of littoral sand travels. Forrest didn't want to fork out the cost for this project, and O'Connor, ever the Vader hater, decided to look into the matter himself, both by analysing existing data and creating his own through soundings and consultation. He concluded that sand won't get everywhere, even though it is rough and coarse. This led to him adjusting the designs into a much more affordable version, which, like me and the discount section of IGA, attracted Forrest's eyes. Parliament was convinced by O'Connor's clear presentation of the £800,000 8-year-long proposal, which I imagine looked like either a TEDx talk or a Bethesda game review. And given the project was in its early days, I assume the latter.
And it just works.
Official construction began in 1892 and finished in 1897. The mountainous effort's success was officially sealed on the 12th of September 1900 when RMS Himalaya entered and berthed at Fremantle, harbouring mail. O'Connor also oversaw every little boy in Australia's dream of increased rail networks across the country. By every little boy, I mean me. Yes, affordable transport. Building rail from Northern to Southern Cross, the Southwest, Walkaway and Mullawa, and Coolgardie to Kalgoorlie, among others. His levels of responsibility also meant the man wielded power over transport policy and used it to push for reroutes, plans and upgrades to existing systems, albeit with some resistance. During his time as a trainman, he pushed for vast improvements to working conditions for his workers. His final report as general manager noting that the workers under his command were overworked, underpaid and endured atrocious working conditions. Of course, O'Connor is known for something else. Having a fat pipe that led to his death. We've all had a mate that's been there. In an attempt to save Kalgoorlie from a water crisis, I assume caused because ketamine is diuretic or something, old mate O'Connor proposed building a 530-kilometre long pipe from the Darling Range to Coolgardie near Kalgoorlie. He got engineering Laszlo's, the greatest minds of their generation, from London to approve the project's viability, but local media still vehemently critical of the project. It took 2 full years before Forrest was able to convince the Parliament of the plan's viability, and delays regarding pipe delivery plagued the initial project. It took 2 full years before Forrest was able to convince the Parliament of his plan's viability, and delays regarding the pipe's delivery plagued the initial project. After Forrest left state politics to enter the newly made federal government, the project went at risk as an unstable state government proceeded. At this point, the media got real vicious, as it tends to do to people that they don't like. The Sunday Times outlaid vicious and defamatory attacks to such a degree that it drove CYO Connor to suicide. Completely unfounded too. In reference to O'Connor's pipe project, in spite of him presenting facts on how it works, in spite of it being verified as practical by some of the world's top engineers, and in spite of it working a few years later, they wrote, "This shy engineer from New Zealand has absolutely flourished in the palm of Greece. This man has exhibited such gross blundering, or something worse, his management of great public works, that it is by no means exaggeration that he has robbed the taxpayer of his state out of millions." Going to fix a small leak in the pipe at Chidlow's Well, he rode along Fremantle Beach past the new harbour and down to Rob Jetty. It was at Rob Jetty on the 10th of March 1902, where he rode his horse into the sea, never to return, shooting himself in the head with a revolver as he sank into the ocean. This was the note he left in his wake. The Coolgardie scheme is alright, and I would finish it if I got the chance and protection from misrepresentation, but there is no hope of that now, and it is better that it should be given to some entirely new man to do, who will be untrammeled by prior responsibility. This bronze statue, built in his honour, was created by Pietro Porcilli, and is served well, placed next to the harbour O'Connor designed.